I remember sitting there after a season, and we had a tent. We're like, we need a bigger tent. We need a bigger tent. We had you need a bigger boat. We needed a bigger tent, and I found one online that we had shipped in, and then the tent company out there put it up for us. And then you look after the season, there was just like a football field of just dirt because everybody dancing on it and stuff. It was a fun time. Good time out there.
I may or may not have gone, but
you may or may not have, right?
Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We know that we see that the new Mesita location just opened up.
Yeah,
in Amityville, bigger, better than all the rest.
It's definitely different.
That was a former Chase Bank.
It was a Chase Bank. At one time, it was a mint where they printed money, I guess. So I got to go back and find some Amityville bills or something. Yeah, it's kind of cool, but some building.
Yeah,
I mean
that was a project in the making for 3 years.
When we had our opening in Garden City, we met the landlord and he had us come out and check it out. But it's been going on since then. So, but there was gaps in there. We opened a couple other restaurants in the middle of it.
Sure.
So, kind of got sidetracked. But once we started getting in a groove this past year, it was just like off to the races to get it ready. So,
nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
So Matt, where did I guess take us back to the beginning? I guess of I know we are the newest location just opened, but I guess let's go back to the start of
at least what you could share publicly.
The start was for Mesita was in Port Jefferson.
Even before that, Matt, you've been in hospitality a long time.
Yeah.
Where did it start for you? The hospitality days.
I bartended at AJ's in Baldwin on Grand Avenue when I was 21 years old. That was probably it.
Wow.
That was the start.
And did you know then?
Didn't know how to bartend.
Didn't know how to bartend.
Didn't know how to bartend.
But what is it that you loved that you still carry today that, some of those early days, what do you remember?
It's just great, being out, being around a lot of people, and it's just a good time, being out there.
So you started as a bartender?
Started as a bartender, and then, then I guess years later in 99, me and a group of friends took over a location in Rockville Center, which we have now as Ainsworth.
Okay.
And John Starr had it before us. He was the group that was in there before, who's my partner now.
Yeah.
And we took that over. We made it. It was called the Amphora Lounge, and it was the first place we opened.
Were you still bartending there?
No. Well, I did wind up bartending there. Yeah.
Okay.
But I was in the stock market at the time. I worked for Lehman Brothers.
Wow.
Well, actually, at that time I wasn't Lehman Brothers.
I don't think did. You know that?
Out of there.
No.
So I was actually at our own spot in New Jersey, and kind of bought that type of business as a fallback if the market ever went belly up on me, and have something to fall back on. And our friends growing up, you always want to own a bar, together, and that's what happened. We bought it, got it running, and ran for a couple of years, and then I wound up partnering up with Tommy and Anthony from Casey's.
Okay.
And they came over. We made it Madison Hall.
In that location?
In that same location.
Same location, okay.
And then I guess, I don't know if it was 2007 or so, we sold it, and John Starr came back in with John Sullivan from the city, and
from that,
they took over
the McFadden's
They
group,
brought
right?
McFadden's, yep.
Okay.
And they turned it into McFadden's, and then a few years later, went back in and made it Parlay. And
do you guys own the building?
We don't.
You don't. So
no.
you've
That's
leased it
the landlord there is the same landlord from the original Solomon Grundy's that was there in like the 70s. It was like they always said, the rumor was that it did more beer there during the week than Shea Stadium did at the time. You know, like,
wow.
Yeah, crazy. But same landlord, and yeah, it's been there a while now. 26 years I'll be there. Yeah, pretty crazy. Off for a little bit, but
right. Pretty interesting. And then when did Mesita brand come into play?
Mesita came in pretty much right at the same time as Parlay. So we wound up taking a location that was out in Port Jefferson, and one of my partners, Victor, and I, and my partner from the stock market days, we were like, oh, let's open something over here. It was a friend's business, and we wound up taking it over, opening the first Mesita, and we wound up selling it after the summer because, you know, it just didn't do that great.
Okay.
And I was driving from Baldwin to Port Jeff. He was driving from Aquabog to Port Jeff, and it was just like, all right, winter time's coming. There's going to be, you know, tumbleweeds coming through. Let's get out. And we got out, and we wound up going back into Parlay, and because I was still partners with that, and the place became available next door. There was a 212 Sushi was there.
Okay. Where
Mesita is now in Rockville Center, and that became available, and we wound up. Rob Veterosa was like, "You want to make this a Mesita?" I was like,
"So you kept the concept?"
Yeah, kept like, you know, the basic concept we had of it, and I mean, it went to a whole nother level though, because you had, you know, instead of it's just me and my old partner Eric doing it together, there was now the whole group that we have with Parlay, which those guys, you know, they had it really grouped together, and went in and took over 212 Sushi and just went a whole nother level with Mesita there, and it took off. So
what year was that?
That was I think it was 2015.
Wow, 10 years.
Yeah, yep. And then rolled into Salt the next year, and that was it.
So your brands today, Mesita?
We have Mesita, we have Salt, we have the Ainsworth and Rockville Center, and we partnered up with ITA
Kitchen.
So now we have the ITA
which has
Kitchens.
4 locations.
Yep.
In Garden City, you have Sparrow, right?
We have Sparrow in Garden City. Yep.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Running out of fingers.
Yeah, running out of fingers there. So yeah.
How do you guys keep reinventing yourselves? And even though the brand has multiple locations, I feel like you guys somehow still reinvent yourselves within the brand. The setting's a little different in each location. Like you guys open ITA Mauritius, it's on the water.
Yeah.
I mean, that's certainly a much different setting. But
yeah,
do you guys feel like you're running out of ideas? I mean, you've been in this business 3 decades.
I don't think so. I mean, it's funny. You go out and you just see different things you like along the way.
Yeah.
And my one partner, Steve, he's the Booch. He's the one who designs all the places, and he's got endless ideas, I guess, because they just come. You know, this last one is amazing how it came out in Amityville. So.
And are you going for, like, in Amityville? It's this grand, huge place compared to, I think, some of the other locations. I guess, like, walk us through just, you know, from when you started, of when we had nightclubs and bars, and now it's like the restaurant is the new nightclub.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
did that play a large part of
what nightclubs are on Long Island right now?
Zero.
It's like, you know, you have all these places that open where you stay later and they play music later, and you know that's your new
come
new
for
nightclub.
dinner, stay for the drinks, right? Or stay for the party.
Yeah, I mean, when we looked at Mesita in Amityville the first time, you know, you just see this, like, you're blown away by the building. I mean, it was such a cool look, and building it, you hope it turns out the way it's turned out, and thank God it has. It's just you know, it's just a monster. The way it when you go inside, and it's like, wow, you're just taken back by the height of the inside, trees inside. You know, it looks like you're outside when you're inside. I always say it's like Night at the Roxbury, where the two guys are kidding around. Like, we're going to build a club inside, outside. Outside, inside. So, it's really cool. He did, him, and then you had Bad Wabbit, who is this guy, Craig Banks. So he's a designer that's worked on all the nightclubs that, you know, and restaurants around here that when we were growing up and up until now. And him and Booch together working on it just do a really good job. So
did, what took 3 years? Township permits?
Well, 3 years was, you know, in the beginning, the building had to get brought up to, you know, being able to be handed over to us for us to do our stuff. And then, as you know, we opened a few. In that 3 years, I think we opened 4 restaurants in the middle of it. So we kind of got tied up along the way doing other things too. And it really, you know, like I said, last year is kind of, we planned on being open by Cinco de Mayo last year. And when Cinco de Mayo was coming around, like, we got a long way to go. And,
right.
It just, once you know, all the heads were put together and we're like, okay, we got to get this open, because, you know, you wind up starting to pay rent and everything costs a lot of money to not be open. So it came together really at the end. It came together, and we, you know, the crew that's running it there is doing a great job. Like,
your management team.
Yeah. You're nobody without your management team. So those guys are doing a great job over there.
So along those lines, let's talk about some of the challenges the industry presents: labor, food costs,
eggs,
compliance, eggs.
Egg costs.
How are you navigating all of that? And I mean, you certainly have seen a world of difference from your starting point to today, even the past few years, right? From a compliance perspective. But how do you navigate that?
Well, you guys help out a lot. Let me tell you, when it comes to compliance, the big part of compliance is, you know, managing your payroll system and, you know, how people are actually getting paid. I mean, when we came to you, we knew nothing about spread of hours or anything like that. I'm like, what's spread of hours? What is this? And then you're like, okay, this makes sense. And, you know, we've, you know, not to say, when you're in the business, you'll get audited. We've gotten audited, and luckily enough, we're with you guys and we were doing the right thing. You know, like, there's a lot of things that the old payroll company wasn't handling the right way. And, you know, when we started, how long? We've been with you guys a long time now.
About 8 years.
Probably.
Yeah, at least, right? So
about that. Like, how is, like, technology? I know we speak about it a lot. I know you've kind of transitioned your entities with using companies like Restaurant 365.
Oh, yeah.
The POS system. I guess talk to us a little bit about that.
We've changed. We were originally, I'm like a computer geek when it comes to it. I don't want any paper or anything. So, you know, I probably drove all of the management crazy, because in the beginning I wanted all the invoices scanned in so they would go directly into the bookkeeping system. So we were using QuickBooks, but you had to have 5 different systems to feed into QuickBooks. And then one day, this guy Ethan from Restaurant 365 called me, and I'd had enough with QuickBooks. He called me right on the right day, and I'm like,
good timing.
All right, let's talk. And we wound up switching to them, where everything is in one, from pulling your transactions from your POS system in to putting your all your bills getting scanned in or going directly in. You guys are feeding directly into it now with payroll going in. You pay your bills directly from it. Like, it's a one-stop shop, and you can now go and look at your whole group. You could look at, you know, say 10 restaurants side by side, and just go across your P&L and be like, why is this like this? Why is this like this? Why is this? So you can compare them and you could set the day of the week, which was one of the things I hated with QuickBooks. I love QuickBooks, don't get me wrong. I'll go on and I fly around still when we use it for other things. But you couldn't start on a certain day of the week. You couldn't start your day of the week on a Monday and do a week P&L. A week P&L, you had to start basically on a Sunday. And our week in restaurant business usually started Monday to Sunday. So it was just something that drove me crazy the whole time. And it was just great that it's very flexible and they're very good customer service. And even with you guys, with timekeeping is one of the most important things. And now, instead of somebody coming in and just keeping a ledger of when people are checking in and out or something like that,
manual process,
your time clock feeds right in to the payroll system, and everybody has to put their tips in, everybody has to do everything on the up and up, because again, compliance, like you said, everybody has to do the right thing, and that's when you cut corners, it only costs you in the long run. So
yeah, well, we say it all the time. I mean, coming from most restaurant and bar owners go, oh, I'm worried about guys stealing out of the cash register, and I say all the time, I'm like, time is the bigger.
Time is the bigger. Yeah.
Now it's $16.50 minimum wage. I go, a few hours here and there per week.
Yeah, they get up to overtime.
Significant amount of money.
Time and a half really costs you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So, it definitely, you got to just keep on keeping up with the technology, different POS systems. Like, we use Aloha, we use Toast, each have their different, pluses and minuses. We seem to be rolling closer towards Toast these days with everything, because it's just very easy.
Cloud-based.
It's cloud-based, and you can make changes on the fly where, the other systems you have to log in from server, sitting at a computer, and then you have to straight update it. But it's easier. Like, my managers won't let me use different systems now, because they're like, we can change things right here and know what's going on, and reporting is great on it.
Yeah, and you brought up, I think, a few of your locations are seasonal, right? And that's, which is, I think a lot of people, shake their head. It's like, that's like opening a new restaurant every single year because of the turnover.
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, the technology is important, because at least if you're pulling people from other locations and you're going from the same system where they came from to where you are, it makes it just makes
it so much easier. And it's good, like these different systems now. So, if we have a couple different Mesitas, you could just push out the pricing to each one. Like, you make a change, boom, send it out to each one. So, and then in the new, I was a couple minutes late today because we were over in Amityville, and the sound system that we put in is just great sound system, and we went like over the top on this one, but they were tuning it, and it came out awesome. And it's this Anthem Sounds, and Angelo from Anthem Sounds was great. He just he looked at the room, and he's like, I'm looking what you guys have in here, how you have the acoustics on the ceiling. He's like, you guys are going to need acoustics on the ceiling. So he told us how to do it and put the right sound system in, and it just, you go out at night and you want to be able to talk to whoever's next to you, but you still want it to sound great, in the place. And I think they hit
not
it.
Too pitchy,
very
echoey,
delicate balance.
Yeah.
Plus, those how high are those ceilings?
Those
50, 60 feet?
I don't even know, man. They're high.
Yeah,
they're
you're right.
They're like 3 stories high.
You look straight up.
That's the cool part of the building. There's so much character to the building.
How going back to kind of where we started, and you're talking about having the right people, the right management. How are you finding the right people? And do you see them being groomed from within with expansion of just new locations?
Yeah, we have a lot of people that have been with us for a while, and we have our core group of managers that have been with us for a while, and workers, and we tend to move them up from within. But what happens too is, like, Salt is a busy restaurant, right? During the summertime, we found you need the cream of the crop there, because it's just nonstop from the time we open in the morning to the time we close. And anybody who can make it working there, we feel like we could put anywhere. So you get a good grooming there, and you find a lot of good people. And then every year as long as we open a new place, I guess we need more people along the way.
It's like boot camp. You use Salt as the boot camp.
Salt is the thing. If you can make it through boot camp, you're good to go. So that's usually the starting block.
Are you seeing the younger generation, if you will, come in looking for employment? Because, you know, Vin and I talk to so many restaurateurs, and it's a real challenge, you know, as far as...
It's definitely a different world.
Yeah.
You know, like, I guess from when I first bartended, you know, 100 years ago till now, I mean, when you went out at night, you talked to people. You weren't sitting there on your phone and all that. And, you know, your focus was, okay, I'm doing my job, you know. And now you know, everybody is. It's funny. I was watching a video last night of a DJ, and DJs, all you see is everybody's camera up in the air filming the DJ. Like, nobody is enjoying the music.
The
Nobody's enjoying the moment. You might be here, but you're on your phone and you're there. And unfortunately, that happens to like a lot of your workers. Your workers are supposed to be working all the time. You find them in every corner hiding on their phone or something like that. And that's, you know, unfortunately, that's what we have to deal with now.
You have policies in place for no phone?
You try.
How do you police that?
Believe me, we've tried everything from you leave the phone in the office, leave the phone in your car, but it always finds its way back in. So as long as you stay on them enough, they're not on it, you know, until you're not looking.
Right.
So then you look on the cameras and you say, see everybody on
you
their
walk
phones.
past them into the office, and all of a sudden it comes right out of the pocket.
Yeah, and I'm bad like that. I'll just sit there, and you know, our manager, you know, Mike Schlossman, who he's basically is the manager of all the places, and I'll be like, this one's on this one's on their phone, this one's on their phone, get that one, because you could just sit on the cameras and watch everybody, you know, like, it's just, when it's slow, that's what goes on. But yeah, it's just technology, right?
Yeah. I've been over to the office, and you have like a command center. I forget how many, you know, computer screens you have, but at least 4 to 6, if I recall.
Four big screens.
And is through technology, does that give you somewhat of a pulse of what's happening?
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
I just can't see it. I think they're lucky because I can't see the video screen on the other side with all the cameras. My screens block it, but it definitely helps me through everything.
Yeah, it's what keeps you going, Matt, with all the challenges of the world. You know, some we just talked about. You know, what gets you excited to go to work every day?
That's a good one. I'm not sure. My daughter.
She motivates you.
She motivates me. Yeah.
Your daughter's name?
Sienna.
I
have a 7-year-old daughter, and everything is about her.
And I think she goes to school with.
Yeah, they go to the same
kids
school.
Go to school together. So Matt and I were last week at the daddy-daughter dance.
Daddy-daughter dance. Yep. So
that's when I invited Matt to come onto the show.
Yeah.
You know, but it's great. I guess, you know, being in the restaurant world, I think, and, you know, we've done a few episodes now, and family's like a big thing for them. And,
huge.
You know, being in the hospitality industry makes it very, very tough.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
It's, you know, you learn that you have to, the hospitality business, you're all over. Like, it could be any time of the day you're going to get a phone call. And I used to run out for every phone call. Like, you know, there were times I think my wife wanted to kill me because it would be like a Saturday night and say the systems would go down at Salt during the summer when there's 300 people there. And I would run out. She's like, can't somebody else do this? Can't somebody else do this? And then, you know what? Along the way, you say, okay, you gotta let go and let people do stuff.
Delegate.
You got to delegate. You got to hire. You got to have the right crew, and you got to know who to call or what to do, so you can have a normal life. Otherwise, I mean, this business, you could be out from the morning time till late at night.
There's always
something. There's always something, and I think, you know, that made me think that okay, how do you got to let go of the control, I guess, to have the control, right? So you got to let everybody figure out how to do it. And as long as you put better things in, better POS systems, better networks. I mean, it all comes down to a lot of technology. Make sure your kitchen's great. You know, you got to make sure the kitchen gets the food out. And it's crazy. like Mesita now, it's pumping out food, and it just opened. But you know, my partner Antonio, who is the chef over there, he puts together a kitchen, and he has Alexei, who is one of our chefs. He's the chef from Salt.
Okay.
And like I said, anybody who work at Salt can work anywhere. So they go in there and they make it look like it's, you know, a cakewalk. So, but you put the right things in place, and you can have a halfway normal life in this business.
It's like anything.
I don't think it's going to be a fully normal.
We talk about it all the time. You know, it's, you know, there's pros, there's cons. I think the pros though is also that, you know, you get to do things with your kids that a lot of other people can't. You talk about, you know, working in the city on Wall Street. If you were still there now, I mean,
who knows?
You know, you can be on a train at 5 o'clock in the morning, coming back at 8. You know, and then, you know, what kind of relationship do you have?
Oh, it's true.
With the family. So,
but then, I mean, even at home, I mean, my wife works all day. She's a finance manager at BMW, and I work all day. And then we luckily have a great sitter to look after my daughter, this girl Bree. She does a great job with her. But it's like you got to put the right things in at home too to make sure
it's quality, not quantity.
Yeah,
sometimes.
and like I look forward to going home and seeing my sister, seeing my daughter, and seeing my my wife. And my wife, who works all day, comes home and cooks every night. And it's like, this is how we have a normal life. I don't go out to eat all that often. Like all the restaurants we have, hardly go to my restaurants to eat. But she cooks great. We sit home, we have a good time, and you know.
Nice.
That's it.
What do you guys do as a family to enjoy that downtime, that time away? Travel, you know, your daughter's of the younger age, so you may be seeing. You know,
I went to Disney once growing up, and I think since the past 2 years, I think I've been there probably 7 times.
Like, wow.
A lot of times it's just me and her, but we go, you know.
Hats off.
She likes it. She loves it. I don't mind going with her. She's got cousins down there, so she loves to go see her cousins when we go to Florida. And like just over break, we took a quick trip to Aruba. I'd never been there. That's great.
Very nice.
But try and get away. But
do you enjoy checking out other cuisines, whether traveling or even here in Long Island?
Definitely.
To see what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. We went to a restaurant in the city last week and tried out a couple of the good ones. So we tried out over the past few months, went to Fort Charles.
Okay.
You know, there's about, you know, I don't know how you get a reservation at that place.
I heard it's
like 30 seats in the place, and it's awesome. So we went there. We went to Corner Store.
Okay.
The Catch Boys.
Yep.
That place was great. And then we went to Bungalow, which is it's Indian food, and he's a Michelin star Indian food. And we went there this past week, and that place was top notch, the food on it.
Really?
And you know, my wife's like, where do you like going? And I was like, I'll go back to Bungalow, man. That food was great. You know, but the other places were, don't get me wrong, were great. But it's, you go to these places and you try different dishes, and you're like, oh, that would be good on here. That would be good on here.
Yeah.
So, you know, and the drink program at over at Corner Store is, you know, out of this world. Martini cart and all this stuff. So they do. They always do a great job.
Think, you know, there's so much Mexican, I think, in the area or in the country right now. So it's like, how do you try to stay or differentiate yourself at Mesita versus the 100 other places that seem to just pop up constantly?
It's hard. I don't know. We just keep on the course and just keep making it a little better each time.
Do you think
we constantly have meetings, like John has a meeting has a weekly meeting with each of the staffs and the manager, and he kind of keeps on top of them all and constantly doing different type of promotions or stuff like that. And I think you just got to keep on seeing what everybody else is doing and try, or, you know, come up with something and be ahead of them.
But do you see, like, now with the newest Mesita location of being like, is that like the new like model for
we got to go find some banks that are
Yeah.
closed down and take it
Well,
over.
it's not that hard, I don't think. There's a lot.
It seems like they're all giving up their
branch locations.
Their locations, yeah. Yeah, I mean, after seeing how this one turned out, it would be great. I mean, it'd be great to do it that way. It's just such a cool feel in that place.
Yeah. And how, like you mentioned, like Fort Charles and some of these brands that are just, you open up your phone on Instagram and Facebook, it's all food related.
Yeah.
How do you guys handle a lot of the social media between all your different brands currently?
We do a lot of it in-house. We have a photographer that works with us that goes around and he videos every place, and they put a lot of the posts and stuff together. Everything's put together in-house on the social media. Reach out to a lot of the food bloggers and foodies to come in, and they I couldn't believe how much, like when we opened in Amityville, how many posts I saw from everybody out there on it, from TikTok to Instagram and Facebook. There was just posts everywhere, and people just showing the room, and it's like, wow, that's cool. Everybody's posting about it.
Yeah, it could make you or break you.
Could make you or break you. Yes. Yeah.
It's the information moves. I mean, just almost too fast at times.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Too fast. Way too fast.
So I know we've spoken about it before, and it was such an interesting place. You talk about being somewhat involved in like the out east on the North Fork, with like the winery, the vineyards, and
that was a good time.
How did that come about, and any good stories from out there?
Oh, so
too many.
I was working in the city. I was working at the commodities exchange, trading natural gas and oil at a friend of mine. And my buddy Dale comes up to me. He's like, hey, you want to run a vineyard on the North Fork with me? I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, I don't think I've ever even been out there. And took a ride out there one weekend, and it was Vineyard 48, which has since closed. But we were there for the first couple years. And we went out there, and I'm like, wow, this is cool. And it was slow start. There would be, you'd have all the, you were in the,
in Greenport.
Yeah. So you would have all the limos pulling up of, all different people going out there, wine tasting, bachelorette parties,
what have you, right?
And we were there for like, I don't know, we were there for a month or two, and we saw different things that were going on, and we went out to the Hamptons and stayed at a friend's house, and we went to Oakland's, and there was a band that was playing there. It was like a reggae band, and we're like, oh, you guys want to play out at the Vineyard with us? And they came out there and they played, and it started picking up more and more. Like there were more people stopping by there because of the band, instead of having like, just
light
a guitar
music.
player, music. Now you have a band, and because you saw it was all
like an outdoor club.
There was a lot of parties that were going out there, and they were all drinking wine all day, and they want to have a good time. So
I may or may not have gone, but
you may or may not have, right? But they during the set they would stop playing, and there was one guy who was part of it who would put on just music and DJ, and all the girls would flock around him and then really start dancing. And there was one night that I'm like, why don't we put a DJ on and see how that goes? And we went from doing like 100 people to like 1,000 people, and it was crazy. It just got busier and busier. But we were there till about, I don't know, it was 2012 or so. And it had just grown. We got into a lot of trouble, of course. They didn't like us with saying people were doing funny things in the on the road and stuff in the middle of the vineyard. But we had left, and they kept running it, and then they eventually
closed it. Yeah.
They eventually closed it. Yeah,
certainly not the scene, I guess, the township was looking for.
No. We always said that you get onto the North Fork and you got to be quiet. Don't make a lot of noise. I would sit there with a meter, with a sound meter, to make sure we weren't going over the noise, because
but
you had people living around there.
There wasn't that much residential around there, though. I mean,
but you know what's funny? I guess you learn if the wind takes the sound, and you get neighbors complaining. But it didn't help that there were like 100 buses parked up and down.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not the
road,
the format, the Vineyard community was looking for.
Yeah.
But go back to Montauk.
There definitely was a demand.
There was definitely a demand.
Yeah.
It went great for a while, but then we left. I think we were there for 2 seasons, and then they continued, and then unfortunately they had some bad problems after that.
Well, that's where that one bad limo accident
was
right on that corner,
the U-turn.
Right? When we were there, we knew something eventually one day bad was going to happen. Because we would watch them like, well, these guys turning here? Why are they turning here? So we made the limousine sign something. They had to go through the vineyard. There was a dirt road that led out to the side street to Depot. I think it's Depot Lane was on the road there. And they had to go out and go through the vineyard and go to Depot Lane and make a left and then make a left at that instead of making a U-turn.
It was hard enough to make a U-turn on that street in a regular car.
In a regular car,
a limo or a limo bus.
It was so sad. But we told them if they didn't go out that way, we wouldn't let them back in the vineyard. Yeah, so it was they abided by it at that point. But it was some fun. I remember sitting there after a season, and we had a tent. We're like, we need a bigger tent. We need a bigger tent. We had you need a bigger boat. We needed a bigger tent, and I found one online that we had shipped in, and then the tent company out there put it up for us. And then you look after the season, there was just like a football field of just dirt because everybody dancing on it and stuff. It was a fun time. Good time out there.
Matt, twofold question. Like, if you had to say to yourself, 30 years ago, what you've learned from all of your experience today, and a young person asking about coming into this business in a serious fashion, like, taking the next step, some ownership or management first, what advice could you share to either yourself then or a young person today on what they should look out for?
Well, that's a tough one.
I asked the tough ones.
Mike is with all the tough ones.
It's a tough question.
I'm asking about party tents.
Yeah. he's got the fun questions today. But what advice would you give yourself?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Listen, it's not a 9-to-5 job. You got to realize that off the bat, right?
Yeah.
So you're getting into a business that is a 24/7 business.
Yeah, because it seems so sexy, right?
Everybody! You're making millions. You're doing that. You're doing this.
Yeah.
Your margins have gotten so low, with pricing going up and everything going up. Like, to look at like you're a restaurant owner, like, oh man, hope you have a bunch of restaurants. It just seems because
it's so glamorous.
It seems glamorous, but
Well, you even bring up opening a Mesita took a 3-year process, right?
Yeah.
Like, people come into this space and they go, it's gonna take 4 months to build out, and then we're gonna open.
Yeah.
And usually it's not like that. And if you don't have the financial backing, or,
exactly,
you might close before you even open. I think
for sure. It's somebody made a comment the other day. Oh, you guys are going to be rolling in the dough soon. I'm like, I'm going to be rolling in the dough anytime soon. You got to pay this all back for you got to catch up on everything that you had to put into it, because nothing is cheap these days. Yeah. And no matter how busy it is, it'll take a while to pay it back. I mean, you're in this business, you're lucky. Like, listen, there were times you're making 20%. 20% has yet gone down. Has progressed down to. You're lucky if you're doing 15% or 12%, like, because everything has gotten so expensive. And so you got to do a lot of business in order to make that money back.
To get to a 15% margin, I mean, you're doing it on volume. It's not because you're selling certain items that would yield that, right? Liquor would certainly yield more of a percentage, but it all goes into the same.
It all goes into that same till of you're still only making this much, because you still have all these workers, and so you still have all insurance. payroll costs.
Yeah,
and
it's
workers' comp,
it's not
workers' comp
lessening.
insurance. Every different kind of insurance you have to have in that business.
So you go, don't do it. Everybody always says the same thing.
I wouldn't say don't do it.
You would strongly advise, hey, you better be prepared.
Yeah, just be prepared and know. Listen, a lot of people that get into it, I think, are people that were in the business growing up, and you just have to realize it's 24/7. You got to be married to the business, and you got to hire the right people to work with you. You got if there's any chance of expanding to a new location from where you're at, you got to have a good team. It's all about the players that you have on your side.
Yeah.
So,
and full service restaurants, you is that the model that you guys are going to stay in for the foreseeable future?
Yeah. We don't have we haven't touched on really fast casual or anything
serve,
like that.
fast casual. Yeah.
No, I think we're staying full service.
Any new concepts that you're looking to work on, or is it still under wraps?
Still under wraps.
Yeah.
Stop rolling and maybe
Well, I say all right, we just opened this one, and I'm sure already guys like Johnny and whatever, they're already all right, where's the next?
John's always moving.
One?
He's always has a new concept.
So John sources locations, right? You are behind the scenes, and Booch is building them. So the three of you are collectively bringing these ideas to light.
Yeah, and then we have Mike Schlossman, who runs around and has to run them all and hear it all from us.
And you got Jerry too.
Jerry, everybody knows Jerry.
Jerry's going back to Salt.
Jerry's going back to Salt. He was at.
He runs the boot camp.
He runs the crazies in the boot camp. Him and Mike and Jep. But Jerry was over at Mesita in Amityville this past week, and you see how many, like, Jerry is the art of dealing with people. Like, he's great at dealing with people.
He's a master.
But we had, you're starting out now with a lot of reservations, so he was always good at filling in the gaps. But right now,
you have overflow.
You have overflow, so you got to fill them to the bar. So wait a minute to get a table that opens or something like it.
Good thing.
Hopefully, knock on wood. Hopefully.
What do you think's like the most like overlooked things in running a restaurant? For people that are like Mike said, that are getting in. What's the one thing that you need to kind of concentrate the most on? Would you say is?
Costs, hands down. You have to watch your inventory. Don't over order. Make sure your kitchen's ordering right. We're lucky we have a lot of good guys in the kitchen, so they handle that well. But you got to make sure the drink is not 2 ounces; it's 1.5 ounces, of liquor in it, because that little half ounce, all of a sudden you're going through, how many more bottles than you planned on, so you're not making what you think you're going to make. So you always got to keep on, keeping on top of the recipe and make sure that recipe stays the way it is. There's a recipe for cooking, but there's also a recipe for the business where you got this percentage this percentage this, and if you fall out of those percentages, the recipe doesn't work, right? And you're not following the recipe.
You are constantly honed in on that piece of the business for your team.
Yeah, and it's very it's very hard. The managers get screamed at all the time, like, your payroll is supposed to be here and it was here. Why is it like that? But you have to constantly be adjusting. Payroll just changed. End of year goes up every year. Now you got to account for that more. That much more you're gonna be paying every year.
Being an outsider with a lot of insight, you can't get days back in the restaurant business. Meaning, a snowstorm, a crazy rainstorm, which may sound silly, but if the snow is bad enough, nobody's going out. And there's a safety factor for your staff and all that. But
your landlord doesn't come back and say, it was a snow day, I'm going to lower your
in January.
Rent.
Yeah,
5% off.
Let me take percentage off your rent. So it's challenging.
Yeah.
More so, and I guess that's why the margins are as slim as can be. There's other industries where you know, if you miss a day, you're still getting it part of your week because it's just part of that makeup.
Yeah.
But yours just falls off.
Yep.
There's no getting it back.
There's no getting it back.
Yeah, it's
and then everybody's like, oh, you're gonna have a good week. You have Valentine's Day. Oh, you get Valentine's Day, so that
On a Friday, though.
That day is busy now for the one day. And then people are buying gifts that week. So all of a sudden your week just looks the same as it was the last week, or maybe even a little less. Because
when
people are spending money, you know, people are it's a scary kind of financial market out there right now, you know, the way the stock market's going and everything else. But everybody has a limited budget that what they can work with. So you got to think if they have to spend it one way, they're not going to spend it other. And we're
you have to hope to be in the mix.
We're a luxury to come out to eat, right? It's it's not, you don't have to go out to eat. So
yeah, and you know, even fast casual is not. There's nothing that's cheap.
No,
everything is expensive. So it's a blessing if someone chooses your restaurant to be in that limited budget.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you do a lot of delivery?
We do a bit. I mean, you know, DoorDash since COVID, I mean, delivery has exploded. You know, we weren't even in delivery realm before that.
Yeah.
And since then, you know, it's a decent chunk.
Yeah.
You know, still in-house is still the most, but you gotta have it. You gotta offer it.
Well, it's tough with type of food you have. I mean, I would think
some of it doesn't travel.
Yeah, Mesita probably does better than like a Salt would, right? Like, can't really wrap up fried calamari that well.
You know, you got to poke some holes in it so the steam goes out, so you get mushy fried calamari.
Because then you'll get gripes about, you know, this wasn't good, that wasn't good, and how do you guys handle that? You know, as far as the social media, as far as the reviews and
the reviews are fun.
You know, you get, I see sometimes you get beat up, but you just try to manage it the best you can and respond accordingly.
Yeah. That's all you can do. That you're just at the public's mercy on that.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden, I always said too, you don't know what kind of day that person had that came and ate by you, and you know, if you don't know if you're getting a review because they were having a bad day to begin with, and it just threw off the rest of their day.
Yeah.
But, you know, definitely some of the reviews we deserve. You know, like bad service, you deserve it.
How do you handle it?
And we reach out directly to the customers that do it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a whole back end team that monitors it all the time. And you know, if somebody has a bad review, we try and reach out to every one of them.
What's crazy is, like, I was even out, I guess it was last week with my wife, and I guess since COVID, you know, prior to COVID, you used to like wait, right? Like you'd have a 7:00 reservation, you go to the bar, you'd have a drink. Now it's like
7:00. Gone.
The expectation is to sit within like 5 minutes. They don't want to wait, and you sit at the bar and you hear these people complaining, and it's like it's been 4 minutes.
Oh, insane! Right?
It's crazy how since COVID that has totally transformed, because of, I guess during COVID there was no waiting; it was sit down and.
I hate to say the funny thing
hanging at the bar.
The funny thing during COVID was everybody was so nice when they came out. They were very happy to be out.
They were appreciative.
That's here and gone. I want my table. I want it now. You know, that's kind of how it does.
Kind of sad too.
It is.
You know?
It is.
I mean,
you know, like I said, you don't know what kind of day someone's having when they come out to eat. Like, you don't know if they only go out to eat once a year. You know, this is their one day out, so they want it perfect. You know, like you don't know what people are going through that are going out to dinner that night, and you know, you just got to at all times try and give it your best.
Are you a tough critic as a consumer? You go out to eat, or are you more forgiving than most?
I don't write many reviews out there because I know how it feels to get a bad review. I'll if I ever write a review, it would be a good review.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Will you share criticism? Maybe to a manager directly before.
I probably should, but I don't. I mean, I'm pretty happy. Every time I go out, I'm pretty happy. But I guess maybe I'm more forgiving because I'm in the business and I understand it.
Can take the criticism.
But I think
I can take the criticism, but there's always gonna, like, nothing's perfect, and we try to give you a perfect experience, right? I mean,
yeah. What's nice now though also is it seems a lot of the technology platforms do a good job of trying to incite a good review.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's Open Table or 7 rooms, or you'll get that email that says, how was your experience, right?
Yep.
Where before, I think it was so, you're going to go out of your way to leave a negative review. Most people don't go out of their way to leave a good review.
No.
Some people do, but
yeah.
So I think what's nice is that it's much more counterbalanced than it was before, and the use of technology, I think, has helped that a little.
Oh yeah. But just think about it, like when we were growing up, there's no way to really see a review for anything.
No.
You was word of mouth. Go to this place. It was great.
But even even traveling, like I tell people, I studied abroad in Italy, and we take a train to Germany and be like, what hotel are we staying at? Like the guy who was had hostels at the train station, and now I look back at it, I'm like, were we crazy? There were no reviews for hotels.
It's funny too, like with technology and with Instagram, TikTok, you got your 15 minutes of fame. It goes away really fast now. Like growing up, it was word of mouth, and it took a long time for it to spread. So that business might have had this much time. Now you got about this much time.
Yeah.
Because you're only new for how long until the next person opens up in a big bank with a big ceiling and
the
serves
next big
great
bank
food.
Opens.
So
we were talking about this morning with the video. It's like that video gets buried because there's the new one coming out.
Yeah, you're only new for so long, and
it.
hopefully you grab somebody's attention that they want to keep coming. You got to think about how many restaurants do you go to? How many restaurants do you go to over and over?
Yeah.
That's you got to keep the customer, but you got to try and find the next customer. And how do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you keep everybody interested?
I guess thinking about it, my kids now are 14 and 12.
Yeah.
We're starting to leave them home a little bit more without, bringing a sitter over. So I would say we probably stay closer to our house if we're going like just my wife and I. But over the years, we didn't, we had to bring in a sitter. So were we driving 50 minutes to try a new restaurant?
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty unlikely, So yeah, I mean, we tend to go relatively close geographically. But as they are getting older, we're starting to venture out a little bit more because of it's just the way it works,
As they get older, it's like paying for a full person for these meals now. It's not like I used to be like, to stop ordering pasta.
That's not a cheap kid meal.
Pasta and butter or chicken fingers. Like I took my kids out the other night and they were like, I'll have a filet medium. Yeah. This one will have like the skirt steak. And I'm like, all of a sudden I'm looking at the bill. I'm like, oh my God.
It's so true.
It's like 4 people out to dinner. Like, go back to the pasta and butter.
Here's something funny. Back to Fort Charles, we went out. My wife was able to get a reservation the day before Valentine's Day. We were able to go. And at first, she got a reservation. It was like 10:45 at night, I think it was for. This is how you get into this place. Yeah. And she emailed them, and they were able to get us I think it was a 7:15 reservation or whatever it was.
Normal time.
We were home before we would have been going to it. But I had been there once before, and they have this to die for burger. The best burger in the city. And when I had it, it was great. But she's like, what are you going to get? What are you going to get? I was like, I'm going to get the burger. She goes, you can't get the burger. You got the burger last time. I was like, no, but the burger was so good. And
did you get the burger?
I got the prime rib, and I got a burger to go. So it was like we were eating for 3, because I still got that burger to go. It was, and it was good when I got it home still.
But I saw, it was funny. I was reading an article a few weeks ago, and those places in the city, there's like brokers
selling reservations. Yeah, I was talking about that with someone the other day.
Yeah, like it's crazy. If you were like, I want to go to Fort Charles, you could pay like $400 for a Saturday night reservation for 2.
Insane.
Because if you try to get some of these reservations at the prime places, like they'll do like 2 weeks or 30 days out, and you go to do it and they're gone in seconds. It's like getting tickets to.
I think we were looking for the corner store again the other day because my niece wants to go in. So I was driving somewhere with my wife. She's like, they're going to let out the reservations now, so get on and make the reservations.
It's like going on Ticketmaster.
It's like I don't know if it was 14 days in advance or 20 days in advance, and they come out every I think it's, I don't know if it's every other day at 10 o'clock or something like that. So you got to be on there trying to get it. And I'm sure the brokers are all on it so they can sell for $400.
I don't know about you. I mean, I know you're a tech guy, but it drives me insane. Like the whole reservation thing. Disney, you said there, you went there a bunch of times and like, fast pass, 10 a.m., 10:40, you're running over here. Like, what happened? You know, the days of just like, hey, let's get online. We go on this roller coaster. We go over here. We do that. I just feel like it rushes you through your vacation or what have you. It drives me insane.
It's a job.
It's not a vacation.
Yeah, that's all. I don't know. Sometimes I just like to take it as it comes and call up and go, hey, you available? You know, come in at 7:30. Okay, great. You know?
I got to tell you something funny about going to Disney. If you go to Disney on the days like we went for Christmas, the Christmas parade, and then we went for the Halloween.
Not so scary. Yeah, it's awesome.
Not so scary is great because there's no fast pass, and they only I guess they clear out the park at a certain time, and then whoever has a ticket goes in.
Right.
No fast pass. The lines aren't crazy. It tells you on the app like still
the wait time,
how long the wait time is, and you're trick or treating at each of the At each
That's when
I
went with my kids. It was fantastic.
Yeah, so I think I'll go back on those days from now on to get
because it's a limited amount.
Yeah. It definitely works well. But then you were talking about technology and the reservations. It's funny because we went through some of our systems and you could really cut your own throat with reservations, however you have your settings in like Open Table or 7 Rooms or any of that, because you set a time limit on a table. And if you have just think about it, if you're going to make a reservation and you go online to do it and it shows no reservations, well, I'm not going to, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to call up the place. You're going to be like, okay, when can I go? Or where am I going to go instead? So if that reservation system of yours isn't set up perfectly for the different amount of people and the amount of times, then you can kind of slice your own throat with it.
And you bring up a good point. I mean, are patrons tough on the table limit? Like, do you guys set table limits or most are pretty much moving through anyway? I
got to tell you, like, if you look on the back end of these systems, they'll tell you like your average 4 top is an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. Yeah. So you get, like, the longer you're open, the better the reports are, of course. So you get an idea of how you got to spread it out.
Right.
So
does that hurt you at all, like at a location like Amityville where it's going to be more like social driven a little?
I got to tell you, Amityville seems like it's a lot of, not even so much social. The bar is definitely it's a great bar scene. But the dinner scene is great too. Like it's a normal kind of dinner, and that's one of the things we were just looking at the Times on that for the past couple of weeks. But it's you got to keep an eye on it, because all of a sudden if you have a reservation that you have it set that this table gets 3 hours and they should only be getting an hour and 20 minutes, well, that screws up your whole booking for the night. And usually the days that people will call is like a weekend day or something like that when it's booked, and they want to go out that night, and everybody wants to go out at 7:30. Like, can I get a table for 7:30? It's like every manager hates me because I'll call. I was like, I need a table for this one at 7:30, and they scream at you.
Like when I call you.
He's not talking about. He'll do it. You'll get it. You'll get it. I'll be like, man, I'll take 6. I'll take 6:30. I'll take 7. I'll take 7:30. I'll take anything you got.
Unfortunately, I have the code too to put the reservation in, so I just get screamed at afterwards. Like, I'm just not going to ask it. I'm just going to put it in there and let them figure it out.
But I guess it's really more of an issue that for those that come out and they're tying up the table and they're not having drinks. But if someone's sitting there and they're just ordering rounds and rounds and rounds, I mean,
if the table's ordering, like, yeah. But a lot of times, like, if they're just sitting there,
right,
and you have limited seating, and
move to the bar.
We'll try and buy you a drink at the bar or something like that. But a lot of times people don't like that.
This damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
Yeah. It's.
But that's where technology comes and helps also. Like I always say, like with the POSs, you used to have to play that dance of like, can I get my check? You bring them the check, right? You have to wait for them to pull the card out.
Yeah, now you just scan the barcode on it or the QR code.
So then you wait for that, and then they have to go back to the POS system, bring it up, bring it back, sign the tip, get up. You know, that right there is, you know.
Well, it was funny.
People get annoyed at that. Like, you could have the best experience ever, and then that transaction of how long it takes me to pay my bill could totally disrupt the whole meal.
Yeah. We switched last year at Salt. We switched POS systems, and we have now the handhelds over there, and I think that helped out. I mean, we have a couple terminals, but majority of them all have handhelds, so you're right at the table, so you could do it right at the table, and you got the long pier, so you got to think if a server went out to the end of the pier, and they're like, we want our check, and she's got to walk back, put everything in, walk back again, and you know,
it
you
goes back and forth, and then they get pulled, you know, by another table.
Right, I was going to say, is it a perfect case scenario, A to B, and you're coming right back, or excuse me,
and even drink orders, like like it's what, you know, like when sometimes you go somewhere and you're waiting to get, and you know, like you could be losing multiple drink orders by that back and forth. But the handhelds are great for that.
Handhelds are great for it. Really
how many guests you serve at Salt in a summer ballpark?
Oh, jeez,
another tough question.
That's a really tough question. A lot. It's you know, you'll have, if you have a
few thousand
a beautiful day. Oh yeah,
easily.
Yeah, if you have a beautiful day there, you know.
And you guys stay open for 20 weeks or so, ish.
We open the first week of May.
We do Mother's Day, right?
Yep, and then we usually close we go through September.
Through September, yeah. So
we stayed open later. Again, during COVID, we stayed open. But it's funny. It's kind of, you know, when you're a seasonal place, it's like lights on, lights off. You know, Memorial Day lights on, Labor Day lights off. And,
you just don't know the weather.
Yeah. And then you're just a
hurricane season
casualty of the weather at times.
Yeah, it's got to be hard to manage, and staff.
Yeah,
is a lot of your staff there college teachers?
I got to tell you, a lot of teachers.
Yeah,
the college, you get, you know, the bussers and you know, different you know, help staff that we have. You get a lot of college kids, and then all of a sudden, August rolls around and like half your staff disappears. But then you got a lot of teachers, and we have a lot of the same staff at Salt comes back every year, because listen, it's a great place to work during the summertime, and you know, the closest feel to a tropical island on, you know, Long Island, where you're out in the sun on a deck all day long, and it's just the staff. I could say we probably have a good 2 handfuls of people that have been at Salt since we opened. So I think we opened in 2016. We opened a year after Mesita did. Yeah. So,
is there challenges being on the cusp of a residential neighborhood with those residents that face you?
Sure,
right.
Sure.
I know the parking could be challenging.
Yeah. So, I mean, we luckily have
manage that?
We have a lot of parking in the within Salt and the marina. We have an area, and we use we have valet parking in there, which helps, because it's just, it gets to be mayhem at, you know, everybody wanting to be there at 7:00, and then you just have a line up down Whale Neck to try and get in. Mm-hmm. And then it's people parked up and down Whale Neck where it gets real tough to get through. But you know, we try and keep everybody within the confines of the gates there.
Do you ever try to, you know, have those? Do you know who those residents are that face the restaurant?
Listen,
and
I think everybody
maybe try to buy dinner here and there if it works.
We try and take as good a care as we can of all the locals there. The locals have been great with us. You know, we can't complain. They
what's better than just walking out your door and across the street and going to the restaurant?
And nice. The marina themselves, there are 2 guys that took over the marina running it, and they're doing such a good job that they took over Whale Neck.
Managing the traffic.
And they're turning that marina around to a point where it's like, I think it's gonna be one of the nicest marinas on Long Island on the South Shore. They're doing so much work. They're putting a gas dock in, so at the other end, not by us, where, you know, boats can now come and gas up over there. So it's another location for more boats to come over, and they're doing a great job. So if anybody needs a marina to put their boat at, it's a beautiful marina.
Nice.
There you go,
Matt. So, what 3 years, 5 years? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see your brands? You know, what do you want your legacy to be someday?
I hope they continue growing. I mean, I think we could handle growing a little bit more. And I just hope it just keeps going in the right direction.
Yeah. Would you want your daughter to come into the business?
So here's a funny thing. My daughter comes in and she goes to Rolling River camp. She doesn't want to go to camp this year because she wants to work at the restaurant. 7 years old. She walks in there. She goes right to the hostess station and she wants to hostess. And if I go there with her, she'll leave me and just stay at the front, and I'll go inside for a minute. Then if I go back over to her, it's like I'm embarrassing her coming over to her because she's working now.
Okay.
And she's with all the girls up front, and she does it at each of the restaurants. Even like at Ainsworth, we did these pop-ups over the wintertime for Halloween and for Christmas.
Okay.
And we would go in there, and she would right to work when she came in, and she would be cleaning tables and stuff too. It was pretty funny, but you ask her what she wants to do.
Nice to hear. To be honest, you know, even at 7 to be inclined to do something.
Yeah,
you know, versus just sitting behind an iPad or a phone or something like that.
Oh, she could be guilty of that too.
I'm sure.
You know, that struggles again. Technology today.
Yeah,
that's kids struggles. But I wouldn't mind her being in the business. Hopefully, I don't know. Whatever she wants to do.
Yeah, it's so early.
It comes quick.
But it goes fast.
Yeah, it goes too quick.
But we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Being
This
candid
was great.
about it.
Cool.
You know,
as long as you don't post a picture of me with my eyes shut again on the on the website.
Before the video started, right? Yeah.
But thanks for having me.
Yeah,
thanks for coming on.
Much continued success. You guys certainly do a fantastic job at all the restaurants, and look forward to really what the future.
You guys too. Believe me, you go to any other payroll company, and not that I'm pushing these guys, but you're not a number when you go to them. When you go to the other payroll companies out there, you're a number. You call you guys. We know everybody by name, and they know everybody back, and
we appreciate that.
It was good seeing everybody at the opening party.
Right, that's right. Time. Except for me.
Yeah, except for you.
Yeah,
but the whole crew, you guys have a good crew over there too. So they keep on top of us to make sure we do it right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
But thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, man.
No problem.